All right, you got to lift with your groin. It's where all your strength is. And if your back is not lifting in a quick twisting motion, you're not getting work done, son. It's not too bad. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be mounting up some 46-inch tires on double beadlock rims for our International 4700. Stay tuned and I'll show you how I get one mounted up. So if you've been watching the channel, you've kind of seen I've been ripping these rims down and the tires down a bit. It takes quite a bit of work. But putting them back together, we got to be real careful so we don't get a whole bunch of dirt in the seals, damage the O-rings, damage the tires, damage the rims, damage the studs, any of that. So this is the Goodyear MVT. It's a 395/85/20. And this one specifically, date model is 2017. I've already mounted up the other three. And the oldest one I have is a 2007. Newest one I have is a 2019. So I think I got a 19, a 17, 2012, something like that in 2007. So the 07 is obviously pretty old. It's 2024 now. A lot of people say, hey, don't mount them that old, but I think they're usually referring to like the XML series tires. That's what we took off. The XZL series, I don't even know if they made them back then. So I think you'd be just fine with just about anything as long as the tread looks good and you don't see any sidewall damage, don't see any bad chunks out of the tread. So these tires are well known for being real smooth and having real good road manners. Right now all I'm doing is taking a purple Scotch-Brite pad, just knocking all the sand off, any mud, any dirt, any loose, easy to get stuff. It doesn't really matter that much because the seat of this is going to be touching so much surface area even if there is some dirt in it. Like let's say you're rebeading this out in the field, it'll rebead no problem. A lot of people like to put a whole bunch of grease in there. If you watch the channel, you know I hate grease, so we're going to do it the way I like doing it, where it's nice, clean, easy, and probably the most important part for me is clean. So sandy up here, we're a little bit worried about that. So we're going to take an air gun. I'm just going to blow it all off. If I sound any different than the other videos, it's because I got a mic with a dead cat on it. That's a dead cat. Kind of testing out the sound here. I got the heater going, air compressor going, blowing here. So these mics do have noise canceling functions, but they distort the audio quite a bit. So I'm saving those for when we're driving the Bronco around or something. Hopefully it's not too killer on your eardrums. Should kind of plan out the area you're going to be working in. I got tractors in here all the time, so we're always making a mess. Just trying to get the big stuff out of the way. So, left that tire sitting up like that. That's so we don't blow our back out. Now I'm going to get the rim. I'm going to set it right down here and get it kind of in place the way I like it. So we're going to clean this here, but we're probably going to end up cleaning it 2-3 times as much as we can, really. This rim I actually damaged pulling it apart. I was struggling getting them outside the valve, and I realized you have to kind of pop the tire over the valve when taking it out, and I ended up messing up the rim of the O-ring here. So I bent it back with a hammer and some dowels, or some dollies, I guess. Dolly blocks is what most normal people would call them. And it went back pretty good. The way the rim sits against the O-ring, it's not going to be the end of the world if it's not 100% straight. It's more just a holder for that O-ring. So just doing a little bit of cleanup. Less dirt in there, the better. I'm going to take the air gun. that out real good. Valve stems right here. So what I ended up doing is tapping the threads on here so I could put a cap, and by doing that it also allows me to get the air chuck on here. It will not fit unless you tap these. I say tap, I really mean die, but what do you say? Do you need to die these? I don't know, that sounds a little weird to me. So we're going to take this O-ring. I usually take a pick, peel it right off of there, and we're just going to slide the new one on. Once I pull this one off, I'm going to just wire wheel this just to pretty it up. Probably doesn't matter none. That's what it looks like all polished up. Pretty happy with it. Probably could have polished this one up too, but this is going to be on the inside. So I'll show you what those new O-rings look like. Keep talking at the camera, forgetting I have this mic on me. So here's the valve stem. We're just going to slide that right on over. Goes on really nice and neat. And then so this goes on the outside of the rim, fits into that extra hole, and this goes on the inside of the rim. So I'm going to get you a little closer here. Now, something that I did, so this is going to be a front tire and rim, and that's only because I've already done the 2 rears and 1 of the fronts. This is the last rim I'm doing. So this one I'm going to stick through here and then mount in. And the other ones, I actually mounted them backwards so that when the rim is like this, the valve stem is sticking out, because keep in mind the rears are going to be deep dish, the fronts are going to be very shallow. So I'm going to stick this through here, get this in the hole, put our nut on. Originally I was thinking I would just end up welding this hole shut and putting in some normal civilian style valve stems, but the O-rings here were only about $3.50 a piece. They're pretty heavy duty, and I think I just like the way they are. So it takes a lot of work to make them work when you have to change the die on them and clean them all up, put a new O-ring on. But the fact is, you're already taking the rims apart. It's probably worth it to just do it right, and this is what I'm going to consider right. So next thing for the rim is I need to look straight down all the studs and make sure they're pointed straight up at me. If they're not, all I'm going to do is tap them upward with a hammer. And they all do look good, but I'm just going to show you what I would do if they needed to be pounded up. Something like that. And these studs were off. I had already corrected them when I took the tire off. Yeah, these are dynamite. So let's go back to the tire now. With the tire in place, just like this, it's best to have a buddy hold it up, because these MVTs, they're nice because the sidewalls are soft. And personally, I prefer softer sidewalls, especially if you're going to be airing down. So this part's a little bit harder with one person, but I'm going to show you can do it. I might struggle here for a minute, but we're going to put these Hutchinson double bead locks in. And it doesn't really matter how you start it. Doesn't really matter how clean they are. Mine are pretty darn clean. They've been sitting outside. We've gotten some rain, so just a little bit of rust around the rivets here. I'm not worried about it. So we're going to put it in spiral form like that. And then all we're going to do is push it down as far as we can. And we're only concentrating on pushing the same, feeding the same spot in. All right, she's in. Now, it is hard to get both of them in there. You don't want to bolt them up here. It would make sense to bolt them up here, but then when you try to stuff it in there, it's going to peel this rubber gasket back. So what I like to do is have it stuffed in tight and sitting straight in the tire. Don't have it cockeyed. That's going to help us with these with this hardware. So the hardware consists of 2 brackets, 4 nuts, and 4 bolts. Now the bolts, it's ideal for them to go from the inside out because they're going to be very close to the rim when you're trying to put it on. So what I like to do is go bolt up, and you want to start in the top one. That way gravity is pulling the bracket in line for the second one. Trust me, I struggled for way longer than any intelligent person would, because I was doing a very silly thing. I was putting the nut on the outside and I was putting it on the bottom, and these brackets were just moving all around on me. Really didn't make anything easy. So I got that top one in, riding the struggle bus already on the bottom one, so I'm just going to go to the other bracket. That way I can get into a position with some more leverage. And these are 14 millimeter 9/16. They do have the SAE dash marks on them, stating they're grade 5, so probably 9/16 would be a better choice if you're a real mechanic, not a hack. Those are the 4 bolts. Those are the brackets back there. Very simple how this goes in there. I see other YouTube videos and they talk about how other people struggle on this and they don't struggle in the video, and I agree, it's not really something to struggle on. All right, here we go, 9/16, 9/16. Don't gotta go goo goo gaga crazy on these. Okay, so hopefully I don't bounce the mic around too much, but so you're gonna lift the tire up here and you're gonna rotate it. I'm a bit taller, so my arms can reach good right here. What I'm gonna do is grab it and pull it almost directly into place where it needs to go. You don't want it to be pulled right up here because you don't have any leverage. You have the leverage towards you. So get in a position. Okay, so that's pretty easy, like that. Oof, about to collapse this lift on myself, huh? These tires are heavy. See how it's deep in here and not in place here? So all I'm gonna do is swing and kick. I'm gonna knock all the dirt off my boots, or at least some of it off. Golly. Being a pain, of course. This is the only one that ended up having problems on. So we'll take a rubber mallet here and just get it kind of centered in place. It's actually ideal to not have it centered. I have more of a gap right in this one spot here. So this spot here, where my gap is the biggest, that's where I'm gonna line it up with the valve stem nut. And that's gonna allow it to kind of slip over the rim and feed into the centerpiece. So let me take my blowgun, blow this out one more time. This over. You can stack stuff underneath the tire to keep it from tipping over on your head. But this is the spot where the inner bead lock is furthest away from the lip of the tire. So that's where I'm gonna line my valve stem up. Now I'm gonna take a product they sell on Amazon, tire mounting paste. I'm gonna do something crazy here. Grab it with my bare hand. This is nothing short of a water-based butter. It literally will wipe right off your hand. Very affordable stuff. It doesn't take very much to get the job done. So right now we're only putting it on the actual tire face. That's going to be facing down. Kind of struggling here, losing all my butter. And this is so when you're hitting and hammering on the face of the rim, it's going to go right down into place. So this is where people would be packing with grease and all sorts of nasty stuff that I'm not a fan of. There's actually a big old chunk taken out right here, That's why I get these so cheap. They can't sell them to the general public. They can only sell them to amateurs like me. So I just wipe that on my butt and it's clean. See that? Very nice. Very nice stuff. Okay, now, shouldn't have moved that hammer because I actually need to lube this rim up too. It's not as important. It's just, it helps kind of pick up any dust we might have kicked on it. And I've done it with the Humvee tires with no paste, and I've had just the smallest amount of air seep out. And then I put a little, oh, Lord have mercy, sliver, golly. Oh, that one hurts. That one hurts real bad. That's an ouch for sure. Ooh, ouchie, ouchie. See if this mic can pick up me crying. Can it hear the tears rolling down my face? Oh man, look at that. There we go. Gross. Get that thing out of here. I even blew it off. Cleaned the rim all up. And what do I get? Nothing. Good Lord. Okay, so here's the setup. Valve, part of the double bead lock that's furthest away from the lip edge. And I just have it so approximately it'll fall right into place. You don't want to line it up with where the hardware is. That's just a no-go. We already double checked that our studs are all straight up. We can't adjust it from now. It's not, right now it's not the main reason to do it, but yeah, let's drop this on, see how she lands. Oh. Oy. Just like that. So the hardest part is getting it around this valve stem. And what actually happened there was this part went on the valve stem before this cleared that O-ring retainer. Got the camera in a little tight, so might not be able to see my hands as much for this. Just gonna vacuum it out. Hopefully this is not too loud on the mic. I'll tone it down a little bit if it is. This vacuum is something we're going to be running just about the entire time here. So next, we have two things we need to do. We need to put the O-ring in here, and we need to slather this good old girl up with a yummy butter. I often read things that O-rings should not have petroleum on them, or rubber O-rings, or silicone O-rings. I really don't know my head from my butt on that one, so I'm not going to tell you what to do, but this is not petroleum based butter. So I just want to lube this O-ring up so as the inner rim sits in there, it doesn't pinch it or burn it up, because that amount of pressure and force can really kind of give her the business. So I do have the O-ring set into place. Now I can apply the butter. So you might think, hey, the tire is sitting on the concrete and it's going to keep the rim from going all the way down. And by that I mean this rim can still go down. That's not the case. If you're absolutely struggling, if you don't weigh a hefty 180 like me, you're just a abysmal 175, you might need to put a spacer block or some wood underneath this rim here, this inner rim that's not touching the tire. That'll kind of help you get this next part to set up good. But for me, I find if I put enough of this paste on here, keep in mind that I've bought this bucket once. We're about a sixth, maybe a fifth at most through it, and I've mounted probably close to 100 tires. Not 100 of these, but I use this on everything. So what we want is we want that rim, we want the sidewall to push down, and we want that rim over there, the rim face, to fit in here. So I do see that the inner rim, the double bead lock, is a little off. I'm going to just tap that over quick. All right. And we don't want a bunch of gunk and gobbledygook down by the O-ring. Here's our inner rim piece. I have not painted the inside because this one is a front wheel, so it's going to sit black side out. The back ones I painted both the face and the rear, because you might see, you'll for sure see this side, but you won't necessarily see this side. So, oh, see how slippery that stuff is? So I'm going to put a little bit of that butter tire paste on this piece as well. O-ring sits, sorry if you weren't looking at that this whole time. The O-ring sits right here, right in there. So it's probably in our best interest to at least rub some butter on there just to make sure that it's clean, free of debris, free of mud. And then the outer edge here is the important part that you want to slip over the tire, because we do have a bit of a rust ring here. Oh yeah. This is looking nice. All right. Let's wipe our hands down with a paper towel. Back to zoomed out. It's pretty obvious if you have these. You're going to line this third hole up, because there's going to be 3 that are real tight. You're going to line that up with the valve stem. Sometimes you're going to catch the valve stem ever so slightly. You'll have to pause and push that valve stem through where it needs to go. Oof. A little hard on equipment here. Okay, now we're close. I don't see any studs that are significantly off. Gonna knock my boots one more time, stand in the center. We just need to give it enough to start a couple nuts. And this is what I did with my dad, who's a real man because he weighs 250 pounds. I had him stand on it while I hit it. So what I just did there was I concentrated my force pretty much on this lip here. And now I have a nut started on each half, which is going to make this next part absolutely gorgeously easy. Righty-tighty, baby. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to start a northeast, southwest, and I'm just going to get them down so that the bolt is the same height as the nut. I'm going to play a little game of back and forth. So. All right, all 4 of them are on, and now I'm going to look underneath and see where the biggest gap is. So if there's a big gap here, I know this one is higher up. There's no gap on this one or this one. There's a gap here and here. So the rim could be a little bent, or it could just be in there cockeyed. So now I'm going to just go on time. So let's say 5 seconds. Okay, 5 seconds was too long. I did 4 seconds. I'm hoping that compressor's not too loud, but I can still stick my full finger under here and feel the O-ring. So while I can do that, I'm going to vacuum up all the dust off these nuts. I bet you the government probably says don't reuse the lug nuts anyway. I guess they're not lug nuts, they're bead lock nuts. What you want is you want to tighten them all down evenly. And if you tighten this one too much, you're going to see a gap under this nut. That's not what you want. So if you stop them all at the same amount, it's going to kind of wrap it down. It's going to warp it, but then once you come back around, it's going to come back and it's all going to look perfect. I forgot to put a valve stem in there. Come on, Elliot. Just like on the trail. Oh, Lord. Okay. So the air compressor was running. I didn't want to try to talk while that was happening, but there was little air bubbles, very, very slight coming out of here, but it eventually sealed itself right up. Look at that, we're already at 40 PSI, geez. I meant to only fill it up to 30, but it fills so much faster without that valve stem. That valve stem is such a crutch. So I guess let me prove that to you for all the haters. Now, I'm rough with my numbers. There we go, 20, 30, 40. So we're about 40 something. So that's it, there we go. So I'm sure I'm gonna cut this video down a little bit, but as you can see, with some pretty simple tools, these can be mounted. I think the most complicated tool we have here is a vacuum cleaner. So it's not like mounting a normal tire. It's pretty easy. Hardest part is rough on your back. So I'm going to look up the actual weight of what this should weigh. I hear a lot of numbers tossed around anywhere from 550 to 300 something. I would guess it's probably around the 300 range. Could be higher, but they're rough to move around. And I about had a hernia lifting the other three out. This is the last one, thank goodness. So I'm going to get this tire lifted up, get it rolled out of here. I am going to make a video of me mounting these on a 1993 International 4700. I haven't shown that to the channel yet, but that's the end of the video. If you like the mic, if you like the new kind of recording style, let me know. It's a new year. Today's actually the Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year, so Year of the Dragon. I'm going to get this lifted up here. I'll do that on camera, but yeah, leave me a comment. Let me know if this voice box here makes a big difference, especially if you're watching on TV or in your car or on headphones or whatever. So I look forward to making more video for you guys. A lot more Ford stuff coming. I know this is a little bit related to Fords with it being an international Navistar, Ford Navistar, but we are going to get into the Bronco stuff. That's what we're testing now. We're testing this for the Bronco so that the noise of the Bronco, if we can still talk to you. Wind, I'm going to get a video out here. I'm going to start up some motors I got in my junkyard. There's going to be wind. That's what this is for. This is for you guys. I really enjoy the comments. If you can leave me a comment, I would really appreciate it. That's the whole reason I make these videos, to help teach people, entertain, and to talk with people. I like to build a community. So thanks for watching. That's the end of this video. All right. You got to lift with your groin. It's where all your strength is. And if your back is not lifting in a quick twisting motion, you're not getting work done, son. It's not too bad. I'm gonna come back to work Monday. This whole shop's gonna be on its fucking side.